is GMMB, you might ask? So I'm going to show you a little bit about who we are, and that's not the purpose of this talk, but GMMB was founded by Frank Greer, who ran the Nelson Mandela campaign. And the M is Jim Margolis. GMMB was an agency founded by political activists that over the years, as we are encountering more and more problems, has kind of evolved into all kinds of other areas, policy influence, cause marketing, things like Save Darfur and working with the Gates Foundation, what have you. So what I'm here to talk to you about today is social selling, because this idea is really exploding everywhere. And as the next generation of thinkers, I pray to God you guys have some solutions, because we got an awful lot of problems right now. I'm going to warn you in advance, if you haven't already noticed, I'm a really fast talker. Sorry to the international students in the room. And I have a lot of stuff I want to show you. So let's get going. Just in terms of how I came to doing this kind of work and why I'm really excited about doing this, I used to work at Leo Burnett in Chicago for many, many years. And when I was there, we got a project funded by Boeing, of all people, on why young people weren't engaged in democracy and in their communities. And so in true Leo Burnett fashion, no stone was left unturned, and we did a one-year study to sort of understand and make recommendations how we could get young people like you more involved in their communities and in democracy and what have you. And this was our little report that we did in conjunction with the League of Women Voters of Chicago. So our recommendations, and this is going to a point here, our recommendations were don't just make young people aware of a problem, they want to be part of solutions. This is in 2003, by the way. We published this in January 2004. Go beyond voting as a sole act of democracy, but get young people engaged to actually participate in the government. How do you do that? We sort of saw social media exploding and content creation on the horizon, so we said empower them with DIY, democracy tools, and social media. We said you should be using brands to make ideas more sticky, that you needed to make all these issues culturally relevant, and you needed to invite young people to create their own content. So we published this in January 2004. Later that year, I was at the Rubber Chicken Luncheon for the League of Women Voters of Chicago, and the keynote speaker was a then young Senator Barack Obama. And he was a dazzling speaker, as you might imagine, and I had spent, $200 or something for this really shitty lunch. And I was sitting in the back of the room, and he did his speech, and he was leaving the room, and I said, I did not come to this thing not to meet Barack Obama. So he's walking out the door, he's at the door, and I stand up and I say, Mr. Obama! And he turns around and comes, and I shake his hand, and I said, we're with you! And I was like, who's we? Why did I just say that? I'm not exactly sure. But the point of this story is it was prophetic, actually, because what ended up happening is everything that we imagined. And it was somewhat serendipitous. I mean, this was something that was culturally created by lots of people. It's the first time that a presidential candidate ever had a brand and a brand logo. They had these cultural icons, like you see the Hope posters. They actually, Chris Hughes, the founder of Facebook, worked with GMMB to create MyBarackObama.com, which transformed politics and got lots of people, young and of all ages, actually participating. You had will.i.am create this amazing video. If you've never seen it, I'm sure that you have, with the Yes We Can speech, and everybody sent in all these photos. It was really cool. And you had people just deciding to help. If you saw the Sarah Silverman Great Schleps, so everything that we imagined actually happened. And I'm sitting there as a planner watching this happen going, oh my God, wow, it really happened. And it worked. It worked. Young people came out in droves, and that's me in New York City. Yay! At the inaugural address. I was working at Strawberry Frog at the time, and we all left the office and went over and drank quite a few beers and watched Mr. Bush leave and Mr. Obama come. So ever since then, my personal mission really became what I'm calling social selling and participatory marketing, so getting people involved and really fighting fire with fire, using all the tools of marketing to sell ideas that would positively impact the world. And since then, that is through natural force of human evolution happening, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Okay, I'm going to start with a maybe odd example. So in between my time at Leo Burnett and Strawberry Frog, I worked for a time for JWT, and this is a little mini case. So we were asked to pitch the Kotex business, because periods are fun. And so this was a brand that was just like, their user base was aging out of the category, to put it delicately. And so we had to find a way to recreate this brand and make it relevant to, teen girls and 20-somethings and what have you. And so we kind of took a look at what was going on in the category and what was going on in the world, and and saw some funny stuff. So if you look at like period advertising, it tends to use like really coded language, like feminine hygiene, like are we dirty? What the hell? The blue goo, you know, all these euphemisms and what have you, like nobody really wants to talk about it. And then we started looking at about how people would talk about, you're gonna hear the V word, vaginas. Nobody could say the word vagina. And I had a whole vagina video that I was gonna show you, but I have other videos, so we're not gonna watch the vagina video. But the point is, so you even had, it's like nobody could speak the word. It was like, you know, you couldn't speak this name, it was evil. So we can say dick, and we have all these other great words, but we had like no good word for vagina. It's either something, you know, really crude and awful, or you had Oprah, God bless her, she's done a lot of good for the world, but introduced the horrible term vajayjay, if you've heard this, which we thought was really demeaning. And so, you know, we actually started to work with young girls as brand co-conspirators, and we had salon dinners with them, and we said, listen, we're trying to recreate this brand, like what should it be? We have this theory that we think it's kind of whack, that in the age of transparency, like nobody can talk about this. And by the way, did you realize that 1 in 4 in your generation has a sexually transmitted disease and you don't know about it? So if you're not talking about these things and it's not out in the open, that's actually really, really dangerous. So our brand mission became bringing truth and transparency to all things vagina. So you may have seen this advertising. I'm about to show you the launch ad. It is exactly, and in fact, the woman in the ad, this should give you all some inspiration. At the time that I was working with JWT, it was me and 2 creative interns. So we did the campaign over the summer, and we actually just sort of cut the thing together overnight, and they ended up filming the exact thing that we cut together, and the woman in the ad is the art director because she had just such a perfect tone that we went ahead and used her. So you may have seen this advertising, it's doing gangbusters. I mean, the good thing is, why do I talk about this as social selling is we wanted to remove the stigma and shame and taboo around periods and vaginas so that young women wouldn't feel so weird about it. And so they would talk about these things so they wouldn't feel strange with their boyfriend, what have you, and more importantly, so they could talk about actual health. And the good news is this is a really great example of where you can do some cultural social good, you know, try to have some sort of social agenda to improve the world in some sort of way, and it's selling product like crazy.
How do I feel about my period? We're like this. I love it. I want to hold really soft things, like my cat. It makes me feel really pure. Sometimes I just want to run on the beach. I like to twirl, maybe in slow motion. And I do it in my white spandex. And usually, by the 3rd day, I really just want to dance. The ads on TV are really helpful because they use that blue liquid, and I'm like, oh, that's what's supposed to happen.
You like Kotex, and your line of tampons, pads, and liners.
So I'm very proud of that, actually. Of all the things that I've worked on, and I've worked on Nintendo and all kinds of cool things, I'm actually most proud of that because it's been kind of cool as I've gone to GMMB. Several of the partners have brought their daughters in because they wanted to meet me, and so nothing has ever been more rewarding than that.